How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chof, Daf 20 of Masechta Makos, friends. Okay, I expect this one to be a relatively short daf. Yesterday I think was pretty long. I haven't edited it yet, but I think it's probably like an hour and 5, something like that. But today's going to be, I think, much easier. Okay, we're going to start on Daf Chof Amud Aleph, about kind of halfway down the page, right where on the first wide line at the Mishnah, somebody who makes a bald spot on his head, meaning somebody who makes a bald spot on his head. And we're going to talk about in the Gemara for a mace, for a nifter. So we're not talking about bald people. We know there's a lot of bald Jews. We're not talking about that. We're talking about if you deliberately bald yourself because you're upset that somebody died. V'amakiv pas rosho, and somebody who cuts off his payas. V'amashchis pas zikono, or cuts off his beard payas. Right? We always think of payas as the long curly side locks, but there is that on the side of your head, by your temples. But there's also payas of your beard. Pas zikonecha. There's 5 points on your beard that you can't cut with a razor. That's why we don't shave our faces. Men don't shave their faces with razors. We use other kinds of things. Pas rosha v'mashchis pas zikonova. Sorit srita al hames. Somebody who cuts himself because somebody died. Somebody died, so he cut himself. Man, I thought it was going to be quiet when I was learning. I noticed a few minutes ago that it was quiet at home, so I was like, I should record, but then somebody came home and it sounds like they're putting away pots or something like that. Not the quietest thing for right now, but okay. Anyways, I have a feeling that it's going to get noisy again in a few minutes anyways. Yeah, it's Friday. I said I had to record 3 episodes today, and they're probably going to be all noisy, so this was par for the course, but this I think should be a short daf. And if somebody who cuts himself because somebody died, so he's chayiv makis for that. Sarat srita achas al chamisha mesim. If he cut himself one time, but on account of 5 deaths, o chamish sritos, or 5 cuts al mesachad for 1 death. Either way, chayiv al klachas v'achas is chayiv for each and every cut. Ala rosh shtayim achas mikan v'achas mikan. So when we talk about the payas of the head, there's 2 of them. One on the right side, one on the left side. Al zokon shtayim mikan v'shtayim mikan v'achas milamato. And on the beard, there's 2 points on either side of the face and the chin. Rabbi Eliezer Omer says, Rabbi Eliezer im nitlu kulan ka'achas inu chayv ela'achas. So says Rabbi Eliezer that if you cut off all 5 points of your face with a razor, so then if it was all ki'achas, so I guess if somebody said, hey, don't do that, you're not allowed to do it, you're going to get makis, and he doesn't, he shaves his whole face, all 5 points, says Rabbi Eliezer, he'll only be chayiv once since he did it all at once. Ve'enu chayiv ad sheyitlenu besar, and you only chayiv if you remove the hair with a razor. Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer, afilu likto b'melaket or b'hitni chayiv, even if you use some kind of a plane, don't know what that is, but it says Rabbi Eliezer, if you use that, a plane, so you can be chayiv for that too. Says the Gemara, Tanach Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, lo yikruchu. So when the pasuk says by the kehanim, it says lo yikruchu, they can't balden themselves. Yochel afilu kerach arba v'chomish krichos lo yechayiv ela achas. Is it possible that if somebody balded himself 4 or 5 times, he would still only be chayiv once for balding? Tamalomar karcha. It says lo yikruchu karcha. L'chayiv korcha v'korcha, so you're chayiv for each and every korcha. So if you bald yourself 5 times, you'll be chayiv 5 rounds of makis. Birosham, on their heads. Matam alomer. Why does it have to say on their heads? Because the pasuk says, "Lo tisgoduv lo sasimu korcha bein einechem lameis." Because for the general public, the first pasuk was by kehanim, but for the general public, it says, lotis go to do. What was that? I think that's like cutting yourself. And don't make a blind spot between your eyes for the dead. So yachol lo yechayev ela al bein ha'inayim bilvad. So I might think that maybe the Kohanim would only be liable for between their eyes. Minayin the rabbis kol arosh. I don't know that they're liable for bald spots on any of their head. Anywhere on their head. Talmud Omar birosham, on their heads. So anywhere on their heads. The rabbis kol arosh, to include the whole head. Now all I know is by Kohanim sheriba boin akosov mitzvahs yiseris. The Kohanim have lots of extra mitzvahs. Yisrael minayin. How do I know to apply these halachis to a Yisrael as well, that he be chayiv on each and every bald spot and also the entire head? Nemar kan korcha v'nemar laholan korcha. Well, it says here by so it's funny what kan and laholan is, but it says here by regular Jews korcha, and it says by priestly Jews korcha. Malaholan chayiv al kol korcha v'korcha v'chayiv al arosh kibeno einayim. So just like by priestly Jews, they are chayiv for each and every bald spot and for the whole head. So afkan. So also by regular Jews, chayiv al kol korcha v'korcha v'chayiv al harosh kibeno einayim. You'd be liable for each and every bald spot and for the entire rosh, for the entire head, in the same way that you're chayiv for between the eyes of malaholan. So now it kind of switches, right? Until now, Khan was regular Jews, and laholan was priests. Now it's malaholan, and laholan now means regular Jews. Malaholan al-meis, just like by regular Jews, it says L'tasimu karcha bein einechem lameis. So it says for a deceased, afkan, also by Kohanim, al meis, we're talking about deceased. So for a deceased, so bald spots for deceased people. Hanidalid vehe kriches echidami. Now tell me more about this 4 or 5 bald spots that you'll be chayiv for. Echidami haso ilema boze achar ze uvchomesh asros pshita. If you make the 5 bald spots one after the other, and you're warned for each and every one, of course you'll be chayiv 5 times for 5 averos that you did with 5 warnings. Ela bechada hasra. Okay, well maybe it was only one. Maybe it was only one warning for all of the, let's say, 5 bald spots. But min bechayiv, would you be chayiv? Can one warning make you liable to 5 rounds of lashes for 5 consecutive bald spots? We learn in the Mishnah, Nazir, you have a Nazir who was drinking wine all day. Nazir is not allowed to drink wine. This guy's not following the rules. He's a Nazir and he's drinking wine all day. He's only going to be chayiv once. And obviously he's not like taking one long sip the whole day. He's going to drink throughout the day, and we're saying still he's only chayiv once. If they keep on warning him and he keeps on drinking, well then he'll be chayiv for each one. So we see that that one warning of don't bald yourself won't make you chayiv more than one time, right? To be chayiv 5 times, one warning won't work. We could be talking about where he where he puts some kind of like hair removal substance on each of his 5 fingers, and he placed them on his head in one fell swoop. That they were like in, I don't know what's going on here. There's some kind of irregular noise that just happened. Anyways, so you like warn the guy, hey, you got hair removal stuff on your finger, on your 5 fingers. Don't do it. You're going to be chayiv 5 times. And he does it. So we hit him 5 times. V'chama shir karcha. What is the size of the bald spot? Rav Huna Omer, kidei sheiroi mirosho. Rav Huna says, if you can see it from the head, I guess you could see, hey, he's got a bald spot. So then you'll be chayiv makos for that. Rabbi Yechanan Omer says, Rabbi Yechanan Mishum Elazar Shimon Kigris, the size of a gris. Kitano, it's like machlokes tanoim, kamashir karcha, what's the size of a bald spot? Kigris. Acherim ovim kedei sheira mirosho, others say acherim, which is what Meir, I believe, if as long as people can see it from his head. Amar Yehuda, Reb Chanina pligi batlasa. Tanoim says Reb Chanina taka. There are three. It's a three-way machlokes tanoim. Chad Omer kigris. One opinion, like we saw, is kigris. V'chad Omer kedei sheira mirosho, and another opinion is that if it's visible from the head. Okay. V'chad Omer, and the third opinion, kishtei cyrus, like the size of two hairs. Those who swap out shtei cyrus for the size of a lentil. And just to remind you of what got swapped out, so certainly being able to be visible from on the head won't be swapped out because that's not a measurable amount. That's more of a subjective thing. And in terms of the remaining ones, which is a gris and two hairs, it's the two hairs ones that got switched out for an adasha. How do you know? Because we have in another Mishnah, it says Baheres ki gris umicha b'chadasha. As a reminder that gris and adasha remains. Gris is not being replaced by adasha. It is an alternative to adasha, which means that adasha therefore is replacing the shtei cyrus. Okay, very technical. Tana anotel melopi hazug b'shabbos chayiv. We learn in the Bryce that somebody who removes enough hair to fill up the point of his scissors on Shabbos will be chayiv for violating Shabbos. How many hairs are at the tip of a scissors? Omer Rav Yehuda Shtaim. Says Rav Yehuda, 2 hairs. Vatanya the Korcha Shtaim, but we say in the same brisa that for a bald spot it's 2 hairs. So wouldn't that mean that the tip of the scissors is different? So Ema V'chein the Korcha. I'll say, and similarly, and it's the same thing as a bald spot, shtaim. Right, similarly for a bald spot, it would be 2 hairs. We also learn in a verse like this: that somebody who takes the equivalent of the tip of a scissors on Shabbos is chayiv. How much is the tip of the scissors? Shtaim, 2. Rabbi Eliezer Omer achas. It says 1 hair. The Chacham who say 2 hairs agree with Rabbi Eliezer that b'melaket levonos mitoich shchoyris, if you're plucking out white hairs from among black hairs because you don't like the white ones, well then afilu achas shu chayiv, that you would even be chayiv for 1 hair. In that instance, v'dover ze afilu bechol also mishum shenemar liyilbash gever slimas isha. But doing that, removing white hairs from black hairs, is even also during the week because of lo yilbash gever slimas isha. A boy shouldn't wear girls' clothes. I guess it's kind of like a girly thing to remove the white hairs. Really? Interesting. V'makiv pas rosho v'chule. Tanur pas rosho sof rosho. The corners of his head or the end of his head. Vezu sof rosho. What's the end of his head? Zamashvit stoyov la'achorei oznov v'lepadachto. Somebody who evens out. Okay, I don't really know what this means, but evens out like his temples with the back of his ear and his forehead. Don't do that. Tani Tana Kame Rav Chizda Echad Makiv Vechad Nikov Lokes. Tana taught for Rav Chizda that not just the evener, but also the evened, the one who, not just the payas remover, but the payas removed, the one without the payas, both of them get whacked. Omar Lei Mandachotami Barbilo Loki. And Rav Chizda says to this Tana, I don't understand. Somebody's just sitting around eating dates and he can get hit for that. I don't get it. The person whose payas were cut off, he was just sitting there. So the Omar Loch money. So Rav Chizda continues and says to Tana, if somebody says to you, who is the author of this brisa, you could tell him, Rabbi Yehuda, it's Rabbi Yehuda the Omar Lav Shem B'maise Lokan Olav. That it's Rabbi Yehuda who says that a Lav Shem B'maise, that a lav where you don't actually do anything, like over here just sitting there and your hair gets cut, you can get whacked for that. Rava Omer says, Rava b'makif la'atzmo v'divrei hakol. Rava says, well, what if he's giving himself a haircut? Ever thought of that? If you give yourself a haircut and you cut off your payas, you can get makis for that. Okay. Rav Ashi Omer says, Rav Ashi b'maseh v'divrei hakol. Says Rav Ashi, if he's helping him out. right? You have the barber who's cutting off his payas, and he's like, yo, here, cut this stuff off. V'amashchis pas zikano, somebody destroys the corners of his beard. Tanabana pas zikano, sov zikano, the end of his beard. Vezu sov zikano, shibola zikno, the point of his beard, but apparently that includes like all 5 corners of the beard. Peace out.